It's lights out and away we go here at...
Can you imagine if that's what happened when Formula One gets here in 2023? Please buy anything that's good in this world. That's not the case. So we can see F1 in full effect here in South Africa. Big welcome to ESA for episode 3. My name is Greg Maloney and I'm the voice of choice, your host for 2022's episode 3 and season 3 as well. Fantastic. It's the one we're not supposed to talk about, remember? Uno, dos, and cuatro. We do not mention tres, but we are here to mention tres. And to kick things off, make sure you're checking us out every single Friday night on Vision View TV and on all our social media platforms and on extremesportaction.co.za. Right now, we're going to see exactly what's happened over the last couple of weeks with the event results. Red Bull Dance Your Style, and Red Bull, as always, putting together something pretty spectacular for all of the dancers from around the country. Kicking things off in Gauteng with the regional qualifiers for what is going to be the World Final in December. The world's biggest one-on-one street dance competition in South Africa, Red Bull Dance Your Style, kicked off the regional qualifying tour in Johannesburg at the playground in Braamfontein. Hosted by Ellie the Entertainer, the qualifying tour started with workshops by Jiva actress and dance instructor Kananelo Ngaleka. In 2021's Red Bull Dance Your Style SA champion Shani J, pro dancer and choreographer Daniel Lenka, as well as the founder of Soweto's Finest, Tom London.
You're gonna drop down, boom, twist, up, down, twist, leg, grab, boom.
This was followed up by qualifying one-on-one battle rounds, which showcased various movement styles as dancers competed to the unpredictable music selection created by DJ extraordinaire The Cut. In the end, the highly energetic spectators cheered on Snay to the victory.
A very long time. I was pretty sick. So I only got better probably this week. So it was just trying to at least move. I didn't really expect anything because I was just like, as long as I just move, I think that's pretty good. I feel like all of them were tough because I feel like I'm lacking, but I think the one that really like stressed me out was with bobbing. He's one of my favorite hip-hop dancers, so it was quite hectic going up against him. My styles, I've got to train them back to the basics, back from ground zero, and just build them, take variations, take everything, and also try to improve like my performance aspect to everything. I think, you know, they don't really look at females into this thing, and I feel like people think, oh, I'm a female, I've got to just shake my body, show my body, but like literally I can dance, and at least I try to, and also the females, we can also come here and show that we don't have to shake our bodies and do all of that to do well in dance.
Well, it's certainly a case of I see you, baby, shaking that ass. That's exactly what was happening at Red Bull Doncho Style. No doubt about that. But I can tell you something, when you talk about battles, you don't get much better than that. And we wish all our contenders from Gauteng the very best in making their way through to the finals here in South Africa and, of course, to the World Finals in December for Red Bull Doncho Style. Moving on now. Speaking of battles, you don't get much better than what happens in the hallowed hexagon. And EFC 95 saw most of the first bouts not even make the first round. It's certainly something pretty spectacular in the title chase for EFC 95. Let's see what happened in that hallowed hexagon.
And welcome back to the EFC Performance Institute in Johannesburg. What an incredible night of fights. I don't think that they've seen anything like it this year in 2022. Guys, I'd take you back on some of the standout performances of the night, but also that contentious decision, that draw between Keir Harvey and Vince Bembe. How do you guys see it?
You know, when I looked at it, I was looking at the output of each fighter. Keir Harvey was definitely in the ascendancy at some stages, but then I look back at the striking of Vince Bembe. Bembe was really dominant in the striking exchanges. It was very back and forth. There was a lot of activity. There was a lot of attacks. There was a lot of defensive attacks. It was a really close fight, and I mean, I thought Harvey had won it, and then I looked back and I looked at the fight and I went through it in my head and I was like, oh, hang on, this could definitely be a draw, and that's what we got out of that.
Yeah, I think the point being taken away was always the big talking point from there, and maybe not enough on the night to secure a decision for Keir, but Keir showed big heart. Vincent also turned up. It was awesome to watch.
Yeah, and then the co-main event between Arpia, Van Staden and Pisson Kopani. Van Staden taking the win, but Pisson Kopani showing why he's a threat to anyone in that division.
I said these are the two youngsters that are coming up in this division, and they got an opportunity to put their hand up with two stars colliding. I mean, Peace was in trouble 3 times in that fight with really tight submissions. A rear naked twice and a guillotine. He was able to grit it out at stages. Just at the end he wasn't, but he was dominant for most of that fight. He had HP against the fence. HP was just, you know, doing what he needed to keep him off, and pure heart and passion and desire, something you can't teach in MMA, came out, and that's what got him the victory.
And I think as you step up with the levels, that window, that margin for error gets so much less, and Peace made one mistake and paid for it with the loss tonight. So I think at the end of the day, lots of lessons learned, but HP is exciting. He's got a few things to work on though, including a gas tank, but I think he could really do some damage in this division.
Yeah, that was an incredible fight, and that took us into the featherweight title fight that we just seen between Igor Cabeza and Nerek Simoes. And really, we talked about it may be the story of the wrestling, and that turned out to be that way, Gareth.
Well, Nerek said in that fight it was about decisions, and at stages he picked the wrong decision, and the experience and the ability of Igor Cabeza came through. It was a game of inches in the wrestling department. We know what a beast Igor is in that space. Just last weekend he won 3 national titles in the ESA Wrestling Championship. He showed that quality tonight. He also showed his experience. He showed why he's the greatest featherweight of all time, winning his 3rd belt. And I think it was a good test for him. I think it was an opportunity for him to be taken to deep waters and see how could he handle it, and he handled it unbelievably, and hats off to him. I'm super proud of him.
Apex predators evolve, and that's why they're top of the food chain. Igor Cabeza lost to Exon. It lit a fire in his belly, and that's what happened to Nerek tonight. Unfortunately, he just could not deal with Igor's pressure, and that's why he's 3-time champ.
Yeah, and like I said, he's passing that loss on to Nerek Simoes, and Nerek Simoes similarly is going to go back, and we're going to see a fire lit in his belly as well. What do you guys very quickly think of the Cameron Simon call out?
Yeah, look, I think it's a big call. CIT are always gamers. They're going to put their hand up when there's something that's needed. Who's going to test Igor Cabeza next? Who's the person that can take him into the deep waters? Cameron Simon, he definitely believes he can, and he's shown that he's of that level. That would be an unbelievable fight, I think, against 2 really good not really good fighters, I think world-class fighters. I think it's a fight everybody would want to see. Just to go back to Nerek Shaman, he's a guy that will come back out. He's a guy that will work hard, and he's a guy that is definitely going to come back and put on an excellent show.
Either way, whoever wins that, it doesn't matter. The EFC and African MMA have won on the night, so I can't wait to see that. It makes a great storyline, and it makes for great champions.
The 11th of August 2022 EFC 96, with the headline being, of course, Biko versus Alves. You do not want to miss that. And you can check out all the action a little bit later on in one of our shows, where we'll bring you all the event action and what happened at EFC 96. It was a spectacular EFC 95. We hope you enjoyed that little glimpse. If you want to see more, make sure you check out all our social media handles for more action there from EFC 95. Now, we don't usually speak about things that are happening behind the scenes or that are there on a top secret level, but past couple of weeks there's been a lot of hype around Kyalami, particularly with F1, but more importantly, seeing for the very first time a MotoGP bike thrown around the circuit. And it was none other than our very own Brad Binder on his Red Bull KTM, who went to do a very, very top secret super lap at Kyalami. Let's see how it all turned out.
Today was incredible. It was so much fun to go out and get the chance to ride the MotoGP bike for the first time around such an amazing track, a track that I grew up riding on. Super fun day. Thank you to everyone for organising it. It was so cool to ride this bike here. You know, it's not quite the same as the one I'm using at the moment, but super close. Well, it's super close, but close enough. And yeah, you know, just to go through turn one at this track is quite special because it's quite unique. There's nothing else like it out there, and it feels pretty cool to be sixth gear flat out and lengths over on a MotoGP bike.
For more on Brad's attempt at Kyalami and being the very first modern day MotoGP bike to set a lap around Kyalami, I think it got down to a 1 minute 41 and potentially going to be even quicker when he gets onto the official Michelin tyres that they run on that MotoGP bike. We'll bring you more of that, but if you want to see more, make sure you check out Extreme Sport Action and Red Bull TV and all their social media handles. That's basically it for the upcoming events, and of course we'll be getting into those a bit later on. The event results were pretty spectacular, and we certainly hope you've enjoyed that. But just after this, we catch up with one of SA's finest motocross riders, Tony Riddell. Motocross fans will be very happy with this week's guests. It's fantastic to have him in studio, multiple SA champion on numerous occasions, as well as some very, very big international success in his career. Tony Riddell is joining us here for episode 3 of ESA. Tony, fantastic to have you here, buddy. Thank you so much for taking time out. And it's, of course, it's been a long time that you've been on a dirt bike and doing things all around the world, particularly here in South Africa with big success. And now looking to put it back into the youngsters of the motocross fraternity.
Yeah, thanks, Greg. We've had our time. And you've got to put back into any sport, and this is our sport. I don't know any other sports but this. So this is what we can put back into to help the kids get through their days and actually get safe.
The one cool thing about it, of course, is you're saying you don't know anything else other than the sport. I don't think I know anything else other than the sport too, but it's an extreme sport. So here in Extreme Sports Africa and of course Extreme Sport Action, it's fantastic to have someone like you. Give us a little bit of the background, where you've come from and some of the stuff that you've done in your career.
So in my youth, I was actually a water skier, not a motorbike rider.
Okay.
And then my dad he was a road racer. So he bought a press steel Honda 50. And obviously there were no motocross bikes in the old days for kids.
Yes.
So they put knobblies on this thing and we rode around the garden. And then it was a choice between bikes or skiing. Skiing was out, bikes were in.
It's not a bad option though.
And hence we started. And I think I started riding bikes in about 1968.
And haven't stopped since, eh?
I did give up in '86 when I broke some bones in Namur, the Belgian 500 Grand Prix.
Okay.
And I decided I've had a long time riding bikes, eaten enough hospital food, and then came back 22 years later and started again.
Look, the cool thing about it is that making a comeback like you did there and looking at the way things have gone in the world of motocross worldwide, there are definitely opportunities for riders of my age and your age now, because they're opening up championships in the Masters and Grandmasters category. So have you ever thought about making a little bit of a comeback?
I did. I won the vets class when I came back, and I decided it's not what I wanted to do. I've got championships, more means nothing.
Exactly.
It was to enjoy it, because every time I sit in the line, I want to win.
I think that's what everybody does.
The brain says you're going to win, the body says you're not doing
Maybe
this
not.
well. So it was a choice. Do you want hospital food or not? And
No,
that's where it's
exactly.
got to, do you take the risks or not?
Exactly.
And the youngsters can still do it, I can't.
Now, you've spoken about a couple of the races overseas. I mean, you must have one that sort of sticks out in your mind as your best race ever. It might not be one that you even won.
So my best race ever was in 1978 when I was junior, and I was riding for BPMR. And it came down to the last event of the year at PE. I'm not a sand rider. Hate sand, can't do that stuff. It must be hard pack. And my bike seized in the first race. So I had only a 2-point lead going into the second motor.
Wow.
And in those days, 15 points was first, 12 was second. So my opposition won the first race. So it was 2 points. Whoever beat each other was the champion. And him and I went hammer and tongs until the last corner, and I just beat him.
That's amazing.
It was, yeah, it was a highlight for me because it's the hardest time riding on something I hate.
Yeah, and it's always
know?
a difficult thing to do. You know, when you're in a situation where you're in your element, it makes your life a lot easier. But if you're not there and it's something that you don't enjoy, it certainly makes your life a little bit more difficult.
Yeah, it comes down to the will to win.
It is exactly that. The
I
will to win, I
had
think,
to dig deep there. I mean,
motocross is a sport that certainly makes you dig deep in all aspects. Not only from a riding point of view, it's a mental game as well, isn't it?
Very, very mental. Because sometimes
you have to be mental.
You don't be nice. No, it's just that if you don't have to win a race, but if you can put enough pressure sometimes, you can still beat the person because whoever can handle pressure the most.
Yes.
I mean, that's in all motorsport actually. Some people can handle it for long and then they win. Some people run up front and then oopsie and they go back 3. Done.
We're gonna move on to fall through in a few minutes' time, but I got one more question for you as well. What you've seen so far, motocross in the country has sort of had its ups and downs. There's definitely an up at the moment. There's an upward trend. You've got a whole bunch of youngsters, which we'll get to a little bit later on in the show that you're working with. But do you think the split in terms of motorsport and WAMSA side of things is possibly increasing that upward trend, or is it having a bit of an issue with it?
Listen, it is a competition for both of them. So they are competing for a certain amount of people, but each one has its place. You got to start somewhere, and you can't start at a national point. You know what I mean? You've got to start club racing or even development, club, provincial, national. And that's why I think they both have their place. You know, a national for me is the MSA. It is a proper national. You walk away with your Procha colours now, you know, which you can do. But they don't have the club racing. MSA, well, I'm saying in Gauteng, doesn't have the club racing. Whereas WAMSA has got the club racing and they bring in through the people that are going up. And that's where we use in our little kids. They're starting off and they start off at the WAMSA development. And then they increase through until we got national riders riding in the MSA.
Fantastic.
So, yeah, I think there's a place for everything actually.
Well, that's good.
It's for them to work it out so that we can all get on with it.
Well, we'll get into that a little bit later on in the show. Right now, we're going to move on to, of course, our fall-through videos. This is where athletes have got a little bit wrong and where things don't quite work out in terms of the stunts that they start to plan. So, from a fall-through point of view, let's see what happens for this week. I love the fact that I've got a comment in my ear saying these guys don't even wear helmets. Yes, they don't. Sometimes they don't. BMXers are mad. Murray Loubser particularly is one that is completely nutters. So you saw him over the fall through. We want to see what you guys are doing out there on your fall through videos. So if you've got any, if you've got some big crashes or some big wipeouts or some big eating dust, make sure that you tag us on our social media pages so we can add you onto the show and put you into our fall through section. Up next, what's coming up? And we had Ryan Van Espay on the show only last week talking about Winter Whip and how things are going there with the preparations for what's going to be happening up in the highlands of Lesotho and, of course, in the highlands here in Southern Africa. Yes, we have snow in South Africa, and, of course, Winter Whip wouldn't happen without the help of the Ademo Spritz guys. GoPro are there, Red Bull, DC Shoes, and of course Afri-Ski Resort, where they host the event, is where Locally Whipped magazine, LW Mag, are putting the entire event together. And they've got a massive, massive party planned as well, with the onboard of Andimio Spitz, our big sponsor there for the after party there at, of course, the big event happening at the Afri-Ski there. Kapoko Park is where all the action will take place, so make sure you check out all of their social media handles and watch out what's happening on ESA as well. We'll bring you all that action throughout the next couple of weeks and hopefully see exactly who's going to be the King of the Whip and the Winter Whip champion for 2022. BMW M Festival has been one of the biggest motor festivals in the country and joins Festival of Motoring as one of the biggest in South Africa, in Gauteng. And we're looking forward to seeing exactly what's going to happen in the BMW M Performance Festival as well, because those guys are going to bring out anything that has a BMW badge, and you can make sure that you see all that action here as well on ESA. And hopefully we can get some of the guys from M Festival to come and join us and tell us all about what happened on the day. And finally, World Rallycross. Well, we've been talking about World Rallycross kicking things off. It was supposed to happen at the Nürburgring. Unfortunately, things have all gone a little bit hayward. And it's not because of anything that the manufacturers can do about it. The world that we've come out of in lockdown has unfortunately had a little bit of an issue with delays on parts and delays on availability of certain parts for the new cars that are being built. Remember, they're going into an electric era. And these electric cars are going to be even more spectacular than the current World Rallycross cars. So with that delay, they've had to delay the start of things. And of course, that moves on to Norway. And hell in Norway is going to be something not to be missed. It's going to be the opening round of the World Rallycross Championship, and we're going to be covering that as well. The calendar has also been boosted by the fact that you've got Catalonia coming in October, and the Circuit Barcelona is going to host the World Rallycross next year in 2023 as well. So make sure you check that up. After this, we'll catch up a little bit more and find out exactly what Tony Riddell's been up to with his R2R program. Fantastic to still have Tony Riddell in studio with us. He's going to be chatting to us about now what he does on the other side of the motocross curtain. We've seen about what happened with his career, where he's been, what he's done, his favorite races. But of course, now he's gone into something that really touches my heart. Coming from a teaching background, it is fantastic to see that he's giving back to the motocross community and has started something called Ride, Train and Race. Take us through that. What is it all about, Tony?
So a few years ago, Ryan Hunt and I mean, we'd obviously finished our careers as motocross. And we had a chat, and Ryan from Tourcraft came in, and we decided, well, let's start helping get youngsters going as safe as possible, because it's an extreme sport. When things go wrong, they go wrong. And then at the old Stereotopia, we used to do like a once a month, 2-3 day camp, where Ryan and I were training on the motocross side, and then we used to bring some of the riders from the Pepsin GXCC team in to come and help, because obviously they're good at off-riding and we are in motocross. And then it developed that the parents were just riding once a month. So we decided that's not working. Because a kid learns and then goes backwards, like this. And then a few years ago we decided, well, let's start doing a month. So you choose when you train. So not all the kids can train all the time. Yes. But we needed to get something where there is a bit of continuity to keep it going. And then, Ride, Train, Race started about. Tourcraft came on board, and then Ian Pepper from Pepsin Plastics, he decided to come on board as well, also to help, because he's also ex-motocross rider. So it's all the older riders starting to come through. And then we've got like Motul joining us, Dunlop joining us, everyone wanting to actually put something back into the youngsters.
The one thing I love about it, and what I've seen in terms of the coverage that I've seen from you guys putting together, is the fact that you've gone and looked at it from a development point of view as well. You've got riders from previously disadvantaged communities in your team.
Correct.
You've got, I think, members of every single race in this country, which I don't think any other team has got.
Yes,
and that I think is vital right now. In order to get the big sponsors, you need to be covering that kind of aspect of a sport and of an event. So if that's the case, it's the way to go.
Correct. I mean, once you put a helmet on, everyone's the same. We're all there to do as hard as we can do with the little kids, and they do it, and it's a family sport. So we got other parents teaching the newer parents, don't do this, do that, helping with bikes, because not everyone's a mechanic when you start the sport. And then we are obviously taking over the riding, whereas we leave it to the other parents. They're helping the less experienced parents. There's a shortcut. You don't need to spend money on doing that. This is how you do it. So it's a family sport, but when you're out there riding, you're an individual.
Yeah, I think once they're on the track,
Yeah,
it's every man for
that's it,
himself, or
every
every
man.
man and lady for himself. A couple of lady riders
Got
involved
no
in your
friends
team
on the
too.
track.
Exactly. You leave it on the track as well, I think, as
yeah,
well.
correct.
So
When-
whatever
when you
happens
get
out
off-
there happens, and then you come back and it's half-half.
Correct. So that if we've got a problem with one of the parents, they'll come and talk to us, and we say, that's racing, or hang on, that is unfair. Then we can go talk to an organizer. But generally, racing's racing. You know, you're going to get bumped, ridden over, all types of things.
You're gonna bang
Probably-
balls.
Yeah, correctly. Correct.
Now listen, I've seen a couple of the youngsters have come through this program, and they've gone on to bigger and better things, and of course there's a few that are happening. Some of the big achievements that you guys have got from your riders' point of view?
So our little 50s have come through. So as we started, we have some of the 65, 85 and 125 riders. But obviously they started late enough. You can't just come in and beat a 125 rider. Because
Exactly.
those guys have been riding since 50cc.
Yes.
But our 50cc's have been riding since 4 and 5. And then we got like little Raiden Wills. I mean, 6 weeks ago, I think he broke his arm in Bloemfontein, going for the lead. He got up, he still finished the race.
With a broken arm.
With a broken arm.
Unbelievable.
Finished the second motor with a broken arm. Next day he had pins in his arm.
As I said, we spoke about the mental
Correct.
game. They are mental,
But
these
that's-
kids.
But
But they've gone on to bigger and better things. Because Raiden's also had some international experience too, hasn't he?
No, we were supposed to, but the AMU,
Yes.
the African Motocross Union Championship, was cancelled because of COVID.
Okay.
So that's been so he's chosen for the country. In fact, quite a few of our kids were chosen now for the country in the 50s. But now it's in Uganda, it's a bit far and expensive for parents.
Yeah, it's a long way
And
to
it
go.
becomes a huge expense.
Speaking of expense, I mean, you guys have got some great sponsors involved there. They must
Correct.
be helping out with those expenses. And does it cover the entire team?
Yes, so we don't use it on individuals. Everyone gives in stuff, and we spread it across all the kids so that they're all feeling very special. If they're feeling sponsored, they try hard. You know what I mean? They feel like they are
exactly.
special. And it's not about an individual, it's about this is a group, this is where you're going. Obviously, some of them have gone now overseas, they're busy racing in Europe, that were part of us, but now they're more in Europe now. So you can't ride with us if you're there. But it's the stepping stone, and we're using like Colin Dugmore from the old
Fantastic.
days.
Yeah,
So I speak to him, and we're trying to get our youngsters off to Germany.
that's brilliant.
Because it's nice to have a base here, a South African rider that was here, based there. And Colin's doing exactly the same as we're doing.
That's brilliant.
He's put him back into
So
the
it's
youth
literally
there.
just a filtering system to them then, which is what
Yes.
you need. If people want to get involved, Tone, what's the best way to get involved with you guys?
We've got an Instagram page, RTR, Ride Train Race, that we can put out.
And that's probably the best way to get hold of you. hey?
Yes.
Otherwise, they can get hold of me or on ESA, and we'll put up all the details, of course, of what's happening on Ride Train Race. It's
Thank
fantastic to have you here. Thank you so much for taking time out of your busy schedule, and I'm sure we're going to catch up with you at some stage on the side of the track and maybe get a couple of interviews with some of the youngsters involved in your team.
See you every week. You're in sport.
Exactly.
Thank
Well, there you have it. That was Tony Riddell giving us a little bit of insight as to his background and career, and of course, giving us what's happening with Ride, Train and Race. If you want to get involved in that, make sure you go and check out their Instagram handle. Up next, we're going to be seeing what's to watch, and there's a lot of things happening here in the world of extreme sports on What to Watch. This week on What to Watch, we're going to show you something completely different. And if you want to see a lot more of this and you're a motorsport fanatic like I am, then get onto Extreme Sport Action and check out our website for all of the motorsport videos that come from Tony Sosbo. Let's go and have a look and see what I'm talking about.
That's an obnoxious blow. Yeah. Oh, wait, hold on. Let's go back here. So wait. Okay, there we go.
I don't want to hurt the car.
No, just little one.
Wait for me to go.
Here comes 1 times 320 kilowatt Evo with a slight launch.
A baby launch.
There's some fans over there having a look.
We told you What to Watch would be pretty good this week. Sosbo is definitely a little bit of a nutter, so make sure you check out all these videos on our Extreme Sport Action extremesport.co.za website. And of course, make sure you check out exactly what's going to be happening in Turnout, because Turnout is where things all turn out to be absolutely perfect. It's where our athletes get their tricks dialed in. Let's see if they get it right this week here on Turnout. As you can see, when the turnout videos are perfect, there's nothing better, because Extreme Sport Action certainly shows you that these athletes are right on the tip of everything that is the wonder of extreme sports. And that's what we bring you here on Extreme Sport Action. Well, that's it for the show. We hope you enjoyed all of that. Great to have Tony Riddell here, and fantastic, of course, to see him and what the development of motocross is doing in South Africa. And I hope we can get a couple of those youngsters on Extreme Sport Action later on during the season. We're certainly looking forward to that. And we're looking forward to seeing what's going to be happening in X Games, what's going to be happening in World Rallycross, what's going to be happening in the World Rally Championship, and anything that's on the Extreme Sport calendar. We'll be bringing it to you here on ESA. From myself, Greg Maloney, the voice of choice. Take care then. Bye-bye now.